Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them. Your evil today will blight your tomorrow. So do good today and avoid your sorrow. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine.
All right. Good afternoon, Guyana. Good afternoon, Guyana. And welcome today to Over to You. I am your host, Wayne Caesar, and I also want to welcome everyone in the diaspora that is looking at today's program. Okay, we're going to rock and roll this afternoon. I have two very, very important guests, to interview this afternoon. So we look forward to edifying you, and we look forward to your comments also. Please share the link and like the show. Listen, we continue to fight, the giant that we are facing in the PPPC. And listen, we're not letting up. That's why we're here this afternoon. We are here to continue to expose this installed government that we have in Guyana that continues to marginalize and oppress our people. The battle continues, the fight continues. We have them on the back foot, and our intention is to keep them on the back foot. Talk about a government with no strategy. People are calling me and telling me, Mr. Caesar, we are in blackout for 12, 13 hours a day, in an oil-rich nation. Our people have to be facing blackouts. Picture children who are studying for examinations, amongst other things, when they have their plan to go home in the evening and to get in some study. But you get home to your house, and your house is in darkness. What a government. We are sitting here and we are dealing with a transactional, corrupt government. We are not dealing with a government that is fulfilling its mandate to his citizens. So therefore, we have to speak out, and we have to let this government know that we disagree with their posture and we disagree with their stance. This is an undemocratic government. Okay? Undemocratic. They only find it convenient to engage the opposition when they know that they're in over their heads. For example, the Venezuelan issue. They have no strategy. They have no solution. They have no know-how when it comes to combating the posture of the Venezuelans on our border and what they seek or seeking to take from Guyana. Hence the reason they would have called a meeting with the opposition leader, because they're looking for strategy. They are looking for knowledge. That's what you get when you have a government that is not prepared to govern because it was installed. When you're installed, when you have elections and you're installed, you know that you would have lost the elections. But you're just hoping that your rigging would get you into power. And that is what happened. That's why when the PPP got into power, they did not get into power with a running start because they probably didn't expect their rigging to work. But it worked in their favor. It worked in their favor. And we see what we've gotten over the last 3 years from this installed government. The Guyanese people have gotten a full sample of what the PPP gives. And on top of that sample is lawlessness, corruption, racketeering. People are dying, murders, road accidents. Road accidents, these things occur because of lawlessness. The laws is not enforced by the people because the laws and our constitution is not being enforced at the top. Right? Remember, leadership starts at the top and then it trickles down. All right? Everything starts at the top. It's just like our oil revenue. It goes to the top, but it's not trickling down to the people of Guyana. That's another issue we have there. Our oil revenue is not touching our people. And we're talking in Guyana and around the world, they're saying, oh, the fastest growing economy again. GDP, we need to find other ways to measure GDP. You can't call a country prosperous. And, they're talking about Guyana so much on the stock market and the people are punishing. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever from an economic perspective. It makes no sense. You cannot be seeing prosperity in a country and people living under the poverty line. So all you doctors and experts who put together these criteria that are used to measure GDP, you guys need to go back to the drawing board because you're not getting it right. You're not getting it right. The government of Guyana is responsible for its people. They're responsible for making sure that Guyanese people are able to prosper, are able to have a sustainable life, provide proper employment for them, whether it's government jobs or whether you have to go and throw in some stimulus into the private sector to boost up business and encourage hiring. I'm not talking about you guys lining your pockets with money and going and opening private sector businesses. All right, my first guest is here. The Honorable Trade Unionist, Mr. Lincoln Lewis. Mr. Lewis, a pleasant good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Wayne. Good afternoon. And how do you do today?
I am doing fine, sir, and I hope you're doing just as good as I am.
I'm on top of the world.
Good.
I am not going to allow anybody to put me on the canvas.
Good.
I'm going to fight the hell out there and take the energy out of everybody who believe they're going to stand in my way. Let me say good afternoon to the viewership, our brothers and sisters who are there. I am happy that you're taking time out to come and listen to what I have to say. But I also will want you to say to me what you will like to see happen. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. And you guys heard what Mr. Lewis said. He's looking for your comments. So we're going to be looking at your comments. All right. So please, you guys are involved. This is an interactive show. and we want to involve the audience also. And I want to welcome my second guest, who's no stranger to 107.1 FM. It's our CEO and owner, Mr. Mark Anthony Benchop. Mr. Benchop, welcome to Over to You, sir.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today, sir?
Good, thank you, and good afternoon to all of your listeners in the diaspora and those especially on the ground in Guyana, all across Guyana. Good afternoon to all of you guys. I'm here to answer whatever questions, and I know my place. So I'll just sit back and watch and listen for the questions. Thank you, sir.
Oh, well, Mr. Benchop, I want to thank you very much to have the understanding that this is not straight up where you're a boss. This is over to you where I am actually the boss. Thank you so much for understanding, sir.
Thank you,
sir. All right. So, Mr. Lewis, I'm going to start off with you, sir. I'll just ask you a general question. How are things on the ground in Guyana, sir?
Well, I want to tell you, things are not good. We definitely need to do a number of things to make things right. The resources of this country is being hijacked by a group who said that they're being elected to do as they like. But I will want every Guyanese to join with me to make sure that they don't do what they like with our money. They don't do what they like with our resources. That we hold them accountable for them to do what is just and fair in this society. I've seen that they have. Today I had the honor, I had the privilege as one of the leaders of non-governmental organizations to talk with the political representatives from the state of New York, a number of senators and assemblymen and so forth who are in Georgetown. I am not clear on what their mission is, but they have been able to have an engagement with leaders of non-governmental organizations, primarily African leaders or leaders who stand up to make sure that rights, justice, and fair play emerge or be the hallmark of what ought to take place in this society. So I've had that meeting today. Yes, my brother.
So, Mr. Lewis, you're saying that this meeting, in your estimation, was very productive and fruitful.
No. Don't carry me down that road. I'm not saying that. Let me make it very clear.
Okay. All right. Well,
let me make it clear, very, very clear. As a seasoned campaigner, I see these meetings are about building relationships between and among people. I don't envisage that any point that they will, a meeting like that will realize changes in the behavior of the government of the day. I don't see that. I believe, as I said, it's one about building relationship between and among parties and groups. And it will take, you have to have what you call a maximum level of trust being built over a period of time before we can meet to the point where we all hands to work together. But let me say to you that I understand meetings like these, what they mean for the government. These meetings are visits like these, in fact, like what is taking place now. It's a part of the PR the armory of the PR and communication machinery of the big government to use them to sell their message, and more so if they can demonize people, they do that. If you remember, and I believe you may be too young to remember this, the PPP in opposition, they walked every nook and cranny across the world. Even the United States, that they didn't want some sections of the society to engage, they were engaging them to say that, to tell you how bad the Burnham and PNC were. They did that, only to find out what, when they are in government, they did worse things than what they were condemning. They know the game well. The visit of, while it may be touted as a private visit, what I understand today is that this visit, they met with the government before meeting with the other side, like the opposition, like the NGOs and so forth, and the trade union. I get the impression that I don't get the impression, in fact, but my understanding of the politics is that the conference that was held a couple weeks ago in United States, they're still reeling from the effects of that conference that CJ and others organized in Washington, D.C. If you follow how they behave, from since that conference, every week they're on work. Every week if this conference is so bad and it was a failure, as Mr. Jagdi has been saying, that it's a failure. He didn't realize what the people when they set out to achieve. They should be happy about it if he didn't realize it. But it hurt them so much that they have been talking about it every damn day. So I'm seeing this visit, while the people who are on the visit may have their own mission, I am seeing them, knowing them, the PPP, wanting to use this visit to say to the world that discrimination do not exist in Guyana. But you know, I want to tell you something. People are not stupid as people are not stupid. And the world has changed significantly. Everything you say today, it is you only got to touch the mouse of the computer and you're able to, or touch it the cell phone, and you're getting what was said all over the world. Let me make it very, very clear that I am sure that they met with this group. The government spoke with this group before they talked with us. I am sure about one thing, is that the government, the group will understand that there's a reason why you establish laws. And one of the reasons why you establish laws is because you want to make sure that people do not use their privileged position to exploit others. What you're attempting to do is to stop people from doing those type of things. That's the reason why you get laws. And in every society, exploitation takes place, but even what you consider to be bastion of democracy, which is United States, you look at what Donald Trump has done to that country and has done to people who consider not his supporters. He has used varied means he and his cronies have used varied means to treat with them. So they may be talking to the wrong people and saying to them that discrimination don't exist. Any one of them who walk away from this visit and say to you that discrimination don't exist in this country, something got to happen, you got to check their head. Because if in their own country, which is considered the bastion of democracy, they are fighting to make sure that they minimize that. They are fighting to make sure, as far as practicable, they don't discriminate against individuals. You know? So that is how I see the visit in a nutshell. The reason for them being here and how the government will treat them. They will throw the red carpet. They will throw out the red carpet. They will want to fet everybody, and they believe we believe that money and food and drinks can change the mind and the world. So they're going to do that. But we hope that after we have met with them today, there's so much we can talk about and so much we can expect. But I'm expecting that this will be an opportunity for us to start building relationship with all these people who comprise the delegation from the state of New York.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, for that. Well said. Mr. Benchop, I want to ask you if you want to add anything to what Mr. Lewis had to say, and maybe your take on this delegation going down to Guyana, maybe your expectations, if you had any,
Yeah. Added to what Lincoln said, I have absolutely no expectation. This group of politicians from Brooklyn, they're just basically on an excursion there. Some of them are there just merely to have fun at the expense of taxpayers of Guyana. And some of them are just going to be wined and dined by the corrupt, racist, the illegal PPP regime to basically attempt to cover up the true nature of what the PPP is about in Guyana. And some of these members are going to say, oh, they see no evidence of racial discrimination. Oh, the government is this. And so I'm not optimistic at all about this. It is just what it is, unfortunately. There are some good members on the team, yes, but there are some PPP propagandists on the team. There are some of those so-called elected officials who have already bought into the propaganda of the PPP regime. I've heard of in some meetings with independent groups and also members of the opposition that you get the impression that some of these elected officials from Brooklyn have already been bought in with the lies and the propaganda of the PPPC regime. So it's just a visit from a team that doesn't have much weight in terms of the international politics, and so they report back to no one. However, those members who are leaning towards the PPP and their propaganda, they got to be very mindful because when it's time for re-elections in Brooklyn, it's the same people that they have ignored, their cries and their complaints about are the same people they would expect, Guyanese people that is, they would expect their votes next elections, the re-elections there in Brooklyn. So they got to be very, very mindful. We are aware of who some of those individuals are. And when elections time come next year, we would use whatever voice that we have to ask the Guyanese population in Brooklyn to possibly vote for those who have their best interest at heart. And so that's just my take, added to what Lincoln Lewis indicated just a few moments ago. So we know who those individuals are again.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Benchop. That was very, very edifying. It also paints to me a picture that the Guyanese people and Guyanese in general have to understand that it is you who hold the power to determine the direction that Guyana goes in. based on what Mr. Benchap would have just divulged there, I personally would not be depending on anyone externally to come to the rescue of the Guyanese people. I think you guys have, got to rescue yourself. And I think one of those things that's going to rescue you is your electoral apparatus. But that's a whole different thing. We're going to address that later on. But I just want to continue. Mr. Lewis would have touched a little bit on. Go ahead, Mr. Benchap.
Do I have permission for one quick question? Because I know I'm just a guest.
Yes, you sure. Yes, you do.
You already asked Lincoln about that meeting with some of those officials from Brooklyn there. Roxanne Prasad, state senator. She's from Guyana. And then next to her in that photograph is Rodney's. She is of Haitian descent. She is assemblywoman. What is your take when you guys at that meeting talking to these people? Did you get the impression that they were listening, or it's just from one ear to the next? Do you feel that you guys may have just, had 1 hour, 2 hours of wasted time?
I preface my statement by saying what I expect. I expect meetings of this nature to be a building of relationship, and the question here is not about having results to deal with political issues. But notwithstanding that, I had a little, from my own perspective, we went there, we had different group, different individuals with different points. But from my own perspective, I made it very, I was the last speaker. I had about 3 to 5 minutes to make my point. And I tried to make it.
Wait a minute. A leader like you, with decades of service to the nation, these elected officials hop up into Guyana and just allotted 3 minutes or 5 minutes to you, and you accepted that?
No, we had 5 persons in the room, and what we had an hour, and I was the last speaker, so I had about 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
Right.
Unacceptable, but go ahead.
Good. Let me say to you, I have looked at the tenor of the meeting, and I believe that meetings of that nature, you have to make your point and make it very clear. And I've said to the delegation, after I listened to them and understood that they spoke with the government, I made a point to them that I will expect them to be talking with the government or representatives of the government before they leave. And I wish that they carry the message very clear. A message very clear. And this message is informed by the things the government has been doing, my history to fight for people's rights, regardless of who you are. And in this case, particularly the people of African descent, I made a point very clear to them that I need to say to them that the issue of affirmative action when it comes to the distribution of the wealth of this country, the resources of this country, has to be addressed. Has to be addressed. I'm not messing about that. It has to be addressed. One set of people will not get everything in this society. One set of people who are in the privileged class, will not get everything in this society. We have to open opportunities for other individuals and groups. Can't operate like that. Good. Make that very clear. And I hope that they say to President Ali and his group, his team, what is The issue of ancestral land, we will not retreat. We will not retreat. African people, and I'm a leader in the African community, we shall not retreat, neither will we surrender. We're not giving up on it.
Well said.
The
Well
issue
said.
of the Asians. The issue of the Asians. We are not going to give them up. They are members of CARICOM. Haiti is a member of CARICOM. And I had the opportunity to remind them today that CARICOM is about harnessing the cultural, economic, and political resources for this region to benefit the collective, the people of this region. We will not give up. And I want to make the point also that regardless of what people may say, that when Guyana was on its, when Guyana was challenged with its economic woes, there were people who, and Guyanese went to other shores, Trinidad, Barbados, and so on, that they were not treated well. I made a point to them that we have to evolve from where we were. Trinidad, under Eric Williams, gave to Barbados money to build its tourism capacity. Trinidad gave to Guyana oil to keep the bauxite industry floating. If Guyana is in a privileged position, it has to open up its doors, first and foremost, to the people of the Caribbean. The same waters that hit the shores of Haiti, that is littered with the blood and bones of the ancestors, are the same waters that hit the shores, the Atlantic shore of Guyana. We have to understand that. We will not give up the Asians. They are part of CARICOM and they must be treated with dignity. Don't tell me about what Trinidad, what Barbados may have done or some other place. We have to evolve from that position. We have to do better than we were doing. And that is what governance is all about. I was able to put those 3 points in. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will carry back the president.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Benchop, do you have anything to add there, or could I move forward?
No, I just I like the way Lincoln put it over and telling these people like it is, because when elected officials from over here in the U.S. go to examine things, they've got to be thorough. They just cannot sit at meetings and be unaware as to events and so forth. That's why they go into countries to find out what's going on. And they got to do their research. They got to understand. They can't just depend on what corrupt government officials tell them. Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something. You know, you read what's the senator? Roxanne is her name, right?
The state senator, yeah.
Yeah, she is there. She has been. You saw, you read her CV. I said that these are times that you meet and you build relationship. I found out today that one of our great-grandparents, who is a McCalmont from Uptown, right? From Uptown, West Coast Bobbies. She's from Uptown, or grandmother or great-grandmother is from Uptown. I'm a Calman from Uptown. That's the village that my mother's father came from, John Thompson came from. So we have something, we were able to at least say that there is something in common between the two of us. But I want to say, which I didn't say to her then, but I hope that she will take the opportunity. You know, I should have said to her, hope you take the opportunity to go to Uptown and meet the villagers there and let them bring to her attention the atrocities that are being committed or the butchering of the village. You know, I see last Sunday, they said was it last Sunday? I believe the president was in New Amsterdam, and somebody said to me he's looking after somebody said he's looking at his handy destruction of the tongue. So if she goes there, it may be an opportunity for her to see the handy destruction or suppression of the people of Uptown. You know, we at least there's something common, and I assure you, I'm not gonna allow anybody who was at the meeting today not to get a letter from me on this issue.
Sitting there and looking at her and knowing that she was born in Guyana, she should understand Guyana. Do you get the impression that she understands Guyana, that she understands the suffering of the people in Guyana? She understands discrimination that's happening there? Or has she taken more a balance, a neutral position on what's being said?
I want to tell you something, Mark. I hear people about being neutral. I don't know what we mean when they say neutral, but even neutrality, there's a side in it, right? I believe everybody has a side. I do not want to judge any one of them. What I want to do is implore upon them that the world will now become a continent, and the continent become a country, and the country now become a town, and the town is like a village, and the village is like a house. I want to tell them that what happened in the United States, right, or what happening in Palestine can well happen in the United States if we don't own it. And just the same, it can happen here. Okay? If you believe in justice, it must not only be in your constituency, it must be all over the world, because a justice denied in Europe is like justice denied in the United States. They have to take note, and they got to sit down, and when they go back, if they have an interest, they will continue to work with groups and talk to this government that don't care much about even those people who walk around to see they're supporting them. They don't care much about them. What they're going to do is throw crumbs at them. They're going to eat the government ministers and privilege. They're going to eat mutton while the people get nothing down there. That's the problem we have. We gotta help them. I want to, but I want to tell you, if anybody can use what I'm saying here today, we'll be talking with Senator Prasad. You can say to them, then and the others, go down in the villages. You want to see the thing real. Don't state manage. I believe the government will stage manage it. We met at Ordmanston. We had light all the time. We have to take this thing out to the villages where people are and talk with people, and to see how things can get, how they can have a better understanding. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, and thank you, Mr. Benchap. Well put. What I garner, what I'm able to glean from what you guys would have said is that, you know, oppression and marginalization do exist in Guyana. But Mark, I don't know if our operator can pull this up, Lincoln. Mr. Lewis. There is a woman by the name of Dr. Varswick who would have said that everyone, just need to shut up. The government is doing a great job. There's no oppression, there's no marginalization. I think that she is one of 4 women, I think, who owns an oil block. But this is what she's saying. Be persistent, not complain of discrimination. Dr. Varswick advises Black entrepreneurs. Now, first of all, I don't even know where she was able to locate Black entrepreneurs in Guyana because, listen, Mr. Lewis, I would just hand this over to you to speak on it. Please do.
I met Dr. Varswick. I know the lady, if it's the same lady. She had what we call a medical school on Crow Street. If it's the same lady. Everybody that sing for the supper, and that's what she's doing there. Dr. Varswick came to me earlier this year or late last year. And she was talking to me about she wants some space to rent. And she was looking at Crystal River College as ideal for her. We discussed the matter. While she expressed her concern, politically what it may, Dr. Varswick didn't pursue the issue because she was afraid. She knew what would have happened, that she will not get work from the government. We discussed those matters. She knows how brutal these people are. I don't have a problem with her going, embracing the government and do what to get what she wants. But I have a problem that when she wants to throw people who are raising these issues of discrimination, she wants to throw us under the bus. I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem. Dear lady, you understand me? You come, we talk about the discrimination. We discuss it. She was so afraid. She was so afraid of what the government is likely to do. If you go to bed with the government, go to bed with the government, man. Sleep with them. Do what you want to do with them. But don't throw people under the bus, man. Don't tell me that we're lying. Don't tell me that what we're doing is not the truth. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to raise this one. I'm sorry you had to raise it. I didn't see it before, and I don't like it. I see this as an opportunity to sell me and others for a meal. Do what you want. But I tell you something. I want to understand that I ain't selling nobody. I ain't begging for nothing. If I gotta go hungry, I will go hungry. But I ain't gonna sell nobody. Because selling somebody is selling and destroying the principles that I lived for over the years. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. Mark, Would you like to add anything there?
Absolutely not. I think Lincoln has covered everything. I was watching and reading a lot of the comments there. I noticed Roxanne Best is saying, find her business and let Black people boycott it. People have been talking about these things, boycott those who don't support your interest and those who don't feel your pain. And I think the time has come, yes, for people to be very, very careful as to where they spend their money, who they spend their money at. And this is not an ethnic thing to say, well, only one particular group of individuals that you should not be spending. Sometimes it's your own group too. And we have to be able, especially this new year coming, to identify those businesses and stop supporting businesses that do not feel your pain. That's all I wish to add to that. But I'm not surprised that some of these individuals who are selling us out for cheap, just a little crumbs or a plate of milk and rice.
Well said, Mr. Benchop. And just to surmise this, when we look at what is happening, the oppression, we can see that oppression doesn't have one particular face. It can have many faces. It can come from people who look exactly like you. So people need to analyze and really vet people who they want to elect and put in position of leadership. I'm going to stop at that. And
let me make a point before.
Yeah, sure.
Before you, let me make this point to you. I want to implore upon my African comrades or the members of the African community. If you want to go and make $1 and your intention is to make $1 and you have to abort the PPP, you go and hold them up. We ain't telling you not to do it. But don't cost me. Don't cost me. We understand some things. That all of us can't do the same thing at the same time. Don't cost me. Don't cost leaders. Don't cost the tribe. Go and do what you got to do. We are not come after you. But don't cost us. Don't come after the tribe. Let me give you an example of something that happened. And I believe I told Mark this some time ago. When the people at the last local government election campaign, when they had the red wave, and I heard people getting very depressed, I told Mark, I said, Mark, the PPP is not going to get one first past the poll seat in Linden. They may get another one in Linden, one where you call PR. I say in Georgetown, they may make some inroads in 1 or 2 areas, but they will not win the town. I told Mark that. I remember well the conversation. And he could not, when I was asked for my justification, I made a point to him that you see this thing when they money, some people gone, put on a red shirt, and when they go over there, you know what they're doing? They're squatting. They squat at the PPP. Take the money. It's not the PPP money, it's the state money that they can do all these things. They go there and say this money, we go there, squat, and we take the money. And when we get the money, we move back and we go home back. Well, I tell you something. If we have some people in the business sector who decide that they got squat, if they let them go and squat, but not cost me. Don't cost me. Mark, I remember well that conversation, and my prognosis came to pass. the PPP did not win not one first past the poll seat in Linden. And for a long time, it will remain like that, unless unless the people of Linden become very lackadaisical and allow them to rig the election more than they're doing. Yes, comrade.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. Next question I want to pose to you guys is that the installed president, Mr. Irfan Ali, was well suited and dressed in military type attire. And I just want your guys' take. Mr. Benchap, I could start with you first, sir.
Well, I was hoping that you probably would have started with Comrade Lewis.
Okay.
But since you asked me already, that's okay. I'll go. Pile of clothing. This guy is such a hypocrite. And the uniform that he has on, it's if you take a look at what the mage of the Salvation Army, what she is wearing, if you guys take a close look, and our listeners as well, take a look at what the woman from the Salvation Army is wearing. Take a look at what Irfan Ali is wearing. It's fitting Salvation Army uniform that he is walking around the country with. And I'm sure the Venezuelan people are laughing at him. Maduro is laughing at this clown. Look, and outside of that, another thing I take umbrage to. He has billions of dollars to give away all over the place. And he's putting $100 into the pot of the Salvation Army as donation. $100. But his uniform is an insult. It's a joke. And, like I've said, that, what is it? Halloween is around the corner. So he's already decked out for Halloween.
Thank you. Answering that, Mr. Benchap, well said. Before I pose the same question to Mr. Lewis, I want to ask our audience, because we're up on program time, but I want to know if the audience would like us to go for another 15 to 20 minutes. So can you guys?
No, we're not taking a poll to the audience. Lincoln did say he has another engagement that he has to rush to, but yeah, since it's your show, Lincoln has to go, and I also have to go. Two of your guests got to go.
All right.
Lincoln.
Okay, so Mr. Lewis, can you take the same question that Mr. Benchap would have just answered?
My concern is that I don't believe that these guys have a plan. I believe this is about showmanship, run around. Even when you are in public relation or communication, is that you must have a strategy. I don't understand what the strategy is. I don't understand why you deck him out why his advisors deck him out in that uniform. Are there not more serious issues that we can look at, or serious things that we can look at? Why can we not start talking about that? Why can we not start talking about those people who were given $100? Let us start to look at the national service in a more serious way, in a different form. We have national service. Can we call it something else? Can we start to, those people we were paying $60,000, $40,000, give them a full salary and let it come in and let me start to mobilize them on national programs to embark on national programs, doing things in the communities. Can we not start to look at, or we can spend some money on the people's militia, or we can, rather than that, Archibald Codrington used to say when politicians go there, he used to say, oh, they're head of the circus. Is this a circus we have? You know, Archibald Codrington was, you're too young to know that. He was one time mayor of Georgetown. He used to live 32 Church Street, Albertown. That was Codrington. When you see politicians doing this type of thing, you say, circus. They are now circus. This is a circus. But I want to be serious about it. I believe that we should start to rethink. And that is something I'm giving to both the government and the opposition. Start to look at this $50,000, $40,000. See how we can mobilize the people who were given those monies, pay them a salary when the month comes, and put them involved in national programs. Let me do this thing differently. We have people with experience. We have people with brain, and not only head for hairstyle. We got to start doing this thing differently, man. Think about it. There may be other portions that we have. As I said, we can look at the people's militia. How we can do what we can do about it. How we can build it. How we can build its capacity in all the regions. Yes, Wayne, Caesar.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, that was very, very well said. And listen, it aligned with a lot of the visions of the late great Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum. But these guys that we have in here now, that is in power now, that calls themselves politicians, they go to
why do you want to? Why Wayne? Why you want to do that? You compare like things. You don't compare Barnum with these guys. Barnum got a brain.
Agreed. And Mr. Lewis, you're right. Listen, back in the days, we used to what? We used to build cars in Guyana. I think Tapirs used to build in Guyana. I think we used to do canned orange juice, among so many other things. We had a booming bauxite industry. And listen, let's not think that Forbes Barnum didn't know about oil. He knew about oil, but we weren't ready for oil. We weren't oil ready, and we're still not oil ready. But I'm saying this to say, Mr. Lewis, and you're right with the National Service, the Guyana militia, and all these things should be brought back. Why we have so many people on the streets just sitting there, not making a salary, not making anything. And it just shows how transactional the government that's in place now is. They're not people-centered. And we need to get back to basics. Mr. Lewis, listen, these guys, and Mark too, these guys fly out of the country on taxpayers' dollars. And they go out there and they bring in other people's values into Guyana. I'm not saying that we shouldn't adopt certain values from other country and apply it in Guyana. But when we look at all the guns across Guyana, it's interesting. We don't want that. But moving forward, and this is my final question to you guys. I have noticed that the Sheriff Corporation is a booming corporation. They have one of the largest security agencies in Guyana. Now they're getting into trucking. They've, I think, ordered over 100 trucks. As a public accountant, I have my own take, but I need to get Mark's take and Mr. Lewis' take first, where this is going.
Let me take it this way. These guys are prepared, not only the transportation, they're prepared to take everything for themselves. A group of them is going to take everything. They'll get all the business. And I tell you what, There are times when you talk, people say you're talking race. There are times when you talk about the working class. People say don't forget some, and the other side say forget me. I'm nothing. Let me tell you something. This thing will get to the point where the African, the Indian, the Amerindian, whosoever fall below a certain level will be waiting for the crumbs at the table of that group, that oligarch that we are making it now. They're going to control everything. And not only that, they're going to control the hospitals. They're going to gut the Georgetown Hospital. That surgery can only be done at some hospitals, the sheriff and others. They are going to tell you who is at the Georgetown Hospital that this surgery that you got to do can only be done at the private hospital. And you're going to raise the money through some mean, good or bad, to pay them for them to do a surgery if you want to live. People like Ben's Cup is fortunate to be overseas, but it's people like me who live here, who will have to hook myself to medical services, and they can say whether I live or I die. And people and many others like me will be subjected to that. They're going to be in full control. If we don't stop it now, we got to stop it. They are going to gut the hospitals, and you got to go to Sheriff Hospital or some other one. It's a new way of controlling. I call on the workers, the working class of this country. It is time you guys stand up. I have a friend who said to me during the time when COVID was hot, he called me, he said, I went to a certain clinic. He said, I only spent a day. He said, when they tell me the bill the afternoon, he said, oh my God. He said it was 100,000. I was talking to a lady on Tuesday morning, and she was telling me she went to the doctor for something. And after she do two or three tests, it ended up to $70,000. What about the man who say they will work for 100,000? Ask yourself what will happen. So you're talking about the truck. Just now, they get ambulance to them yet. Only that. The only thing we didn't get yet is the horse. They will come to take over that element of the business just now. Making money, even it requires, there's no honesty in it, in doing what they're doing. There's no shame in doing it, even if it requires being the undertaker, even that they want to do very good and make plenty of money from it. That's all I get to tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Same question for you, Mr. Benchop. The evolution of this sheriff corporation.
I took umbrage to what Lincoln said, that people like me are fortunate to be overseas. And I took umbrage to that because I've done my stint on the battlefield, and I passed the baton on after years of service in the battlefield and have been wounded in several areas. I think that those who have elected people to represent their interests should get that opportunity to be represented. I've just done my service there for 20-something years. Lincoln and I and Norris Witter, we have been brutalized by the police. We spent 3 unjustified nights in a filthy cell. That's just one of numerous times that I have spent in the lockups, all of the lockups in Guyana. All of the major charges in Guyana, from treason to sedition to conspiracy to commit murder, and all manner of trumped up charges against me. The conspiracy to commit murder was when then sitting Commissioner of Police Larry Lewis said that I wanted to kill him, and all manner of things. And as I get older now, I think my time for retirement from the battlefield is over. But it doesn't mean that the struggle is over. And wherever we are, whether we are overseas, whether we are fortunate or not fortunate, we can still play a very meaningful role in this struggle. And in doing so, even though some of us we are fortunate to be outside of Guyana, many of us would love to be there. But we call upon those who are fortunate to be there in that beautiful sunshine country to stand up and defend their country as well. Having said that, now going over to Sheriff, suddenly Sheriff owns everything, every single thing. They're owning and owning and owning and owning every single thing. And nobody's asking where they got it from, how these people get their money from, where they get the money from, how this, is it money laundering? We don't know. But they suddenly just got every single thing. They get hospital, they get security firms, lots of guns and all things, and then big malls. Everything is just popping up, all across the country, popping up. It's as though Sheriff owns the country now. Now, nobody's envious of businessmen or businesswomen spreading their wings and so forth. Absolutely no one. No one. But the people who own Sheriff companies and so forth are from Metamazark side, not far from Irfan Ali. They're good friends with Barrett Jagdeo. So the question must be asked, is this private company being supported or owned by Irfan Ali and Jagdeo and these people? We've got to ask these questions. Outside of that, you're not going to hear a Lincoln Lewis, who's fortunate to be there in Guyana, has a big company that is given contracts. You're not going to hear Lincoln Lewis, who's fortunate to be in Guyana right now, that Crichton Labor College, that Lincoln has been crying out and saying that the subvention or whatever it is, grant taken away, all because these corrupt individuals in the PPP want to be spiteful to Lincoln Lewis. And in being spiteful to Lincoln Lewis, they are depriving hundreds of young people an opportunity to go and get an education at Critchlow Labor College. Shame on the corrupt PPP regime. They're only thinking about themselves and people within a circle, and nobody's questioning them. Well, a few folks are, but outside of that, we are watching. People are watching Sheriff. And if it's the same Sheriff that's connected with Ed Ahmad, well, I put my hands up for now and say nothing else for now. But I'm glad that you've asked that question, Mr. Caesar. I'm glad that you're observing. And I tell you this, scores of other people are observing as well. Scores of Guyanese are observing as well. Fortunately, I have Emma in studio with me. And I noticed Lincoln scratching his head there.
Yes, I know Lincoln has another, Mr. Lewis has another engagement. So, Mr. Lewis, I'm going to quickly ask you for your closing remarks, sir.
Let me say that we have to keep going. We can't stop. Don't walk with the idea that we got to stop the struggle now and wait for elections or something. Every day that you keep fighting, you chip away on the strength and make the PPP weaker. And why we need to have everybody on board. And today I want to call specifically on the workers of this country, the working class of this country. Stand up and be counted. These people taking you for granted. These people telling you for the workers primarily who are East Indian, they tell you, don't question we. If you question we, then you weaken us, and the PNC gonna come and they're gonna bring they're gonna run up shadow over you, they're gonna do this to you. Let me tell you something. This thing called for constant bombing. Don't allow anyone to take the wealth that belongs to you or the resource that belongs to you and say, I am taking it because if I don't take it, somebody else will take it. No, you don't got to take it. Give it to me. We must ask for what is just yours. And I want to call on everybody. Ask them to deliver. We want cash transfer. We want free education from nursery to university. We want the NIS, what we call it, deficit, to be wiped off. Put money in the NIS that we can get unemployment benefit to. These are the type of things that I urge the listeners to demand from the government. And not only tell Orphan Ali, well, don't talk to Jack because he believes that the thing is personal property. The strength of Jack Joe is that he has no shame. But I still believe you can shame Orphan and shame Norton. Demand of them. Don't worry about that guy. He has nothing to give to me. He believes the thing is personal property. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, for coming on. It was a pleasure, and I'm sure that you would have edified our listeners and viewers. Mr. Bencher, please, your closing remarks, sir.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for inviting me. Good to see you again, Lincoln. And also thanks to all of your listeners as well. Let's keep hope alive. I have another job I got to go, and I'm on the job here. Lincoln knows too.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very, very edifying show. Thanks to our guests, Mr. Lincoln Lewis, trade unionist, and Mr. Mark Benchop, owner of 107.1 FM and political activist. You know, I'm so glad that I posed the question on Sheriff and gave Mr. Lewis and Mr. Benchop an opportunity to answer that question because it's lining up with exactly with my analysis of this Sheriff Corporation. Now, with the Guyana Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, what's happening there is that the standard of that hospital is falling tremendously. Why? Because it's not being maintained. You know, it is purposely being done so that people will turn away from that public institution because they're going to say that it's no good and they're going to turn to Sheriff, which is going to be a major mistake because then the health system in Guyana is going to ultimately become a monopoly or close to a monopoly, because I know we're going to have Balwat Singh and all of these other hospital institutions, but they all are going to be aligned. They wouldn't be a public health institution anymore, that people with no money, and you know that that's not going to be the case where all Guyanese are going to have money. We see what the Guyanese people are living in right now. They're living in poverty. So these are things. Health is a major issue across Guyana that we need to be fighting for. The other thing with with the order of all these hundreds of trucks, what is going to happen to the little mom and pop trucking business in Guyana? You're telling me Sheriff is going to take that over? What's going to happen to the little mom and pop stores with Sheriff taking over and building out malls and all these type of things? As Guyanese, we got to wisen up and understand what's happening around us. Listen, I am all for development. I have no issue with development. But it is who is behind the development. I would surely like to find out who is the financiers behind all the Sheriff projects. And I'm sure that once we find that out, it would be damning. It would be damning. Because when we find out who the financiers are, we're going to find out that it is the same oppressors, the people who are oppressing the Guyanese people. That's what we're going to find out. But time will tell. My brothers and sisters, I urge you, keep your eyes open. Keep your ears to the ground. There's a lot happening in the land of Guyana. We have a dark cloud over Guyana right now. And you know what happens in darkness. Democracy dies in darkness. So as a people, we need to come together. Those on the ground in Guyana, those in the diaspora, we all have a role to play. Leaders, your elected leaders, put your egos to the side, come together and rally together, hold hands together, not for yourselves, but for the people who would have elected you to represent them. Let's start honoring the people. Member of Parliament on the opposition side, GCOM commissioners, you guys need to start earning your pay by working for the people. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. You're out on the road, you're on the highways and the byways. As I always say, drive carefully. Take care of yourself and take care of others. Until next Saturday, I'm saying goodbye to each and every one of you. Be safe. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them. Your evil today will blight your tomorrow. So do good today and avoid your sorrow. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine bright. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine bright.